Okay, I think we are now live streaming. So I'd like to welcome you all to this meeting of Council. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and the voices and images of those participating in the meeting may be captured as part of this recording. We would like to acknowledge the original custodians of the lands that we are meeting on from across the Shire, pay respects to elders past and present, and welcome any descendants who may be watching the meeting this evening. As councillors, we have all taken an oath to carry out our duties in the best interests of the people of Indigo Shire and to do this in a fair and impartial manner. We're all committed to exercising the council's powers and functions to the best of our skills and judgment. We do have an apology tonight. Councillor Price has an apology for this meeting. Any other leave of absences or apologies that I'm aware of? No. Declaration of conflict of interest.
I'd like to add it, Mayor, on item 10.10.
10.10. Thanks, Councillor Croucher. And at the time of that item, you can declare the conflict, and you'll be put into a waiting room. So you don't need to leave your actual room. We'll just put you.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, great. We have no condolence motions tonight, and no announcements of community and council achievements. So do I have confirmation of minutes from the previous meetings? The recommendation is that council confirm the following as published on the website. The minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 15th of December 2020 as distributed. Confirm the minutes of the confidential session held on the 15th December 2020, which concerned the Australia Day Awards and the Tourism Event Grant Evaluation Panel new member application. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Shepherd, do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay, Councillor Goldsworthy. Councillor Croucher, I can't see your hand, so you're going to have to put it up near your face when you raise it.
Okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, thanks. All those in favour? You can see everyone's hands. Thank you very much, councillors. Carried. Item 7.1 is the suspension of standing orders regarding the open forum. The recommendation is that the standing orders be suspended to allow the open forum to be brought forward in the agenda to item 7.2, and that the Mayor, I read the questions to open forum on behalf of the questioner without the requirement that the questioner or their representative be present at the meeting. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Shepherd, do I have a seconder? Councillor Horn. All those in favour? Carried, thank you. So item 7.2 is open forum, and we only have one tonight, and this is a query that's come in from Robin McLeish regarding the Ride It, Walk It Indigo strategy. There are two questions. The first one is, did Council commission the production of the Ride It, Walk It Indigo report? And if so, did they determine the terms of reference and the costs involved? I'm going to ask Director Mark Florence to speak to this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. McLeish, for your question. Yes is the short answer. Council did commission the Ride It, Walk It strategy. It is an action within the existing council plan. It was supported by $35,000 allocation in the council budget. It was governed by a project steering group made up of council officers, other stakeholders, and including councillors. So that I think answers that question.
Yep, thank you. And question 2, what is the intended purpose of the Rutherglen Winery Trail?
So principally the Rutherglen Wine Trail is to enhance the existing rail trail from Rutherglen towards Waganya and surrounds. It's to create links to wineries and to maximise the food and wine experience for visitors. The development of that trail will certainly contribute to the visitor economy of Rutherglen and District. There's been a business case done, commissioned also by Council, which shows excellent outcomes if that trail was established. and we're now in a position to apply for grants from various agencies, including state and federal government.
And just in line with that, my understanding is we're in the process of actually getting those grant applications in place now. So is that correct?
Yeah, so there's a number of projects that are being assessed to go in for various various funding streams, and this is one project that is being considered as part of that.
Great, thank you. Okay, so that's it. Hope that answered your questions, Mr. McLeish, and thank you for that. So we're now recommending that standing orders be resumed. Do I have someone to move that? Thank you, Councillor Croucher, seconded. Councillor Shepherd. All those in favour? Carried, thank you. All right, so item 8 is, let me just make sure I've got this right. Business arising from the previous minutes. Actually, I think, sorry, I actually realised I missed item 7.1, which was confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting. So do I have someone to confirm the minutes from the previous meeting?
You've done that one, Madam Mayor.
I did do it. Oh,
yep.
Good. Okay, good. So business arising, they're out of order in my head. Sorry about that. Any business arising from the minutes? Okay. Carried. Any petitions? No. Okay, so we're into planning and corporate services. So Director Greg Pinkerton is here to advise us of any questions that we might have. Item 10.1 is the January 2021 finance report. The recommendation is that Council accepts the January 2021 finance report. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Gaffney. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Croucher. Okay, would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor?
I would, thank you, Madam Mayor. Council's financial position at the end of January 2021 is strong.
Okay, that's what you want to say. Okay, thank you. Councillor Croucher, do you want to add anything to that?
Look, I'd just like to say that by reading through the report that the council is in a strong position, but still needs to be pretty cautious due to the unknown of the pandemic, which is still coming up, but a very strong position. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak to this item? Councillor Shepherd.
I just have a couple of questions about some of the variances. So there's, and can I just thank the Finance Department for that great chart of variances. It really helps when you're working the figures to have those all explained. But it then means I can ask questions. So there's a favourable variance of $21,366 in note 16 for young people. And I'm just wondering, will that money still stay in the budget for young people? It's a concern that, you know, it's an area that I'd like to ensure they do have their projects funded. So that money will stay there?
Yep, Director Pinkerton and, okay, Director Pinkerton, and I think Director Florence wanted to add something too. So we'll go to Director Pinkerton first.
It's probably a good one for Mark Florence.
Okay.
The short answer from a financial perspective is that each service area has done a reforecast at the mid-year point, and so they've projected out what they require for the second half of the financial year. I can't speak to whether that's in or not, and perhaps Mark can, but certainly there's been a reforecast done to make sure that they've got what they need to carry out that service. Might be worth Mark continuing from that point.
Yeah, so a large part of the favourability there is unexpended grant for one of the projects that escapes me at the moment, but certainly that's my understanding is on track to be spent by the end of June. And given that it's a grant program, there is potential opportunity if we aren't in a position to spend it all for some to be carried forward.
Thank you. And just one more, sorry, this is for note 21, the favourable variance of $46,450 in environment and sustainability due to delayed implementation of actions arising from the climate emergency plan. That's of concern to me, and I'm just wondering what the explanation is. I know it's not a financial explanation, but I'm just interested in why we have delayed implementation of that 46,450.
So maybe would Director Ellett like to speak to that one? Yes? Ian, perhaps you could give an answer to that one.
Thank you. I'll have a go. I'm assuming we're on 10.2, the Q2
Yep.
forecast, are we?
Well, it's a finance report actually, but I think that's where you're looking, isn't it, Councillor?
10.1
It's
at
in
the
10,
moment.
no, we're still in 10.1.
10.1, yeah.
Oh, okay. Look, there was a budget allocation made at the start of the year in anticipation of the work done to define the Climate Emergency Strategic Action Plan. So that was only brought to Council in September. There wasn't sort of a clear program of works. And so look, I guess that's why there's just a timing issue with being able to deliver on it. We didn't have real visibility at the start of the year, so there's been some adjustment made.
Okay. All right, Councillor Shepherd, any further questions? All right. Any other questions from councillors or anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Gaffney, anything you want to add to sum up? All right, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour that we accept the January 21 finance report. And it's anyone against? No, carried. Thank you. 10.2 is the Q2 financial forecast. The recommendation is that Council adopts the Q2 year-end forecast figures for both operating, as shown in the operating statement, and capital, as shown in the capital works monitor and adjustments. Directs the CEO to report against these forecast figures for the remainder of the financial year. Notes the Q2 forecast full year unfavourable cash result of $281,000. Directs the CEO to recoup this cash loss over the next 2 financial years, ensuring that the previously determined 22-23 end of financial year cash balance of $5.2 million is still achieved. Do I have someone to move that motion? Okay, Councillor Goldsworthy, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gaffney? Yes, Councillor Goldsworthy.
This mid-year budget review, it's a little bit different to previous years. We're not looking to insert any new projects because of any savings, because COVID and potentially the fires have put the kibosh on that. So it's an interesting time for us, but we're still looking relatively healthy.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Gaffney, you want to add anything?
It certainly, the deficit has changed to 570,000, of which 289 is depreciation. So the cash lost is 281,000. Because of COVID and continuing on, this is the second quarter forecast. I noticed with the Beechworth to Yackandandah rail trail that at the last council meeting in the local roads and community infrastructure grant round 1, we put extra $300,000 to prop up the Beechworth to Yackandandah rail trail. And it was also mentioned at that meeting that there's still 700,000 which will have to be found one way or another. I noticed in the media this week that the Shire is receiving a grant of $1.05 million from the federal government, specifically for the rail trail. Just a question to the CEO, will that 1.05 million cover us for the 700,000 that we were going to have to find?
CEO?
So thank you, Councillor, through you, Madam Mayor. No, it won't at this stage. We don't believe so. But the grant is a good news story in that we were proactively approached by Vic Roads to fund works that improve safety for cyclists, and they saw an opportunity to also invest in the rail trail, to invest in greater separation of cyclists from vehicles, and so they've offered this grant opportunity, which is great news. Unfortunately, it doesn't replace any works that we would have done anyway, as far as we can tell. There may be some slight but at this stage, it's too early to tell whether there'll be any at all. So we're basically saying, no, it's works that's over and above and won't substitute for something that we were going to do anyway.
Okay.
Do we know where we're going to get the $700,000 from? Will it be in the 21-22 budget, or it just seems like a lot of money? We've already spent, what, 5.2? I think 1 million of that was ours, and we're about to borrow another $1 million for the mountain bike track between Beechworth and Yakandanda, which was from a federal sports grant back in 2018, 2019.
So at this stage, I wouldn't want to speculate what council would decide during its budget deliberations, but it will have decisions to make over the next few months about that overrun and how it might be funded. So I guess I'd only be speculating where it might come from. It's really up to yourselves. We'll bring you a recommendation. Certainly that discussion will start probably next month, as well as the immediate the budget planning, the budget process thereafter. So I guess I'll probably prefer not to speculate where it might come from, because that'll be your decision, not mine.
Okay.
Just one more question, Madam Mayor. With the overrun and the 700,000, you don't envisage that it will cost us any more than that 700,000? Just seems like a bit of a money pit.
Looking at Director Ian Allett here, but as far as I know, that's the latest figures that we have. I think the number's about 725 at the moment. It's probably the last number that I have, and that's the one I've shared with yourself, and it's the most up-to-date one that I have.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sorry, but just to say, there are still some more tenders to come, so we can't be absolutely certain until all the tenders are in. And there are some pressures on the market at the moment in terms of tender pricing, but we won't know until they come in.
All right. Any other councillors wish to speak to this? Yeah, Councillor Shepherd.
I just had a question about the council's People and Culture Service. It's projecting an unfavourable variance of 41.5 thousand due to additional advertising and costs associated with the advertising and recruitment and government's requirements for the Working for Victoria positions, which I know we're getting much more out of the Working for Victoria positions than what we're paying. But I'm just wondering, is that money going to be covered, that 41.5, or is that something we are expected to pay for? And also, if you could just outline how many people we have with Working for Victoria and where they've gone, where they are being employed.
CEO?
Just bear with me for a sec. Yeah. So the Working for Victoria, we got basically a $500,000 grant to fund about 12 positions. So we've got funding for 12 positions over 6 months. Approximately, I'll say about half of those are spent in the outdoor crews. So maintenance workers, generally tidying up towns and doing improvements around parks and gardens and things like that. So it's over and above what we would normally have had funding to do, which is a great outcome there. We've also been able to employ a couple of staff as business support officers. So out and about working with businesses and working with ways to look at, basically interview all the businesses in the Shire, how they've been travelling through the COVID and how we can help them. We've employed an IT officer, also a staff member in OH&S, actually in payroll, sorry, in HR and OH&S to help us recruit various people. The recruitment costs themselves are spread, not just for Working for Victoria, but normal recruitment costs for council. They're probably higher than we normally would expect. I don't think we'll be able to get any more money out of Working for Victoria to cover any excess costs of those. But our general recruitment is a lot higher than this year than it was last year. So there's been a bit of turnover there. So I would say, no, we won't get extra funding to offset that amount in HR in general terms. But it's still a positive message in terms of $500,000 worth of labour, really, for no other cost to us other than to put some ads in to hire for them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else, Councillor Shepherd? Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? I'll come back to you, Councillor Goldsworthy, to sum up.
Okay. Look, there's a lot of positives that are coming out of this budget. You know, we've received significant grants across the term, where we have a capital works budget over $11 million. We provided rental income relief for some of those at least properties off of council. What Councillor Gaffney failed to mention about the $700,000, that's due to biodiversity offsets. It was not foreseeable when we first budgeted for this project. We've tried multiple avenues to try and get specific funding for that, and we'll need to work on that. Into the future, it's a multi-year project, so it's a little bit hard to project if there may be cost overruns or not. It hasn't been a money pit. It's been a very successfully run and well-budgeted process. Some things have been outside of the foreseeable contingencies for council. So in total, this Q2 update is a positive story for council, and we'll continue to manage this, the finance of council successfully.
Okay, so going back to the motion, it is that we adopt the motion, direct the CEO to report against the forecast figures and make up the unfavourable cash result over the next 2 years. It's moved by Councillor Goldsworthy, seconded by Councillor Gaffney. All those in favour? Anyone against? No. Carried. Thank you, councillors. 10.3, Mount Ophir Section 97N application. The recommendation is that council refuses the issue of a certificate of compliance under Section 974 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987 on the basis that the application does not satisfactorily prove the existence of an existing use right as sought. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Gaffney. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Goldsworthy. Okay, Councillor Gaffney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The manager of the Council Planning Department, the Director Planning and Corporate Services, the Council Solicitors are all in agreement that the applicant does not satisfactorily prove existing rights use. Those three experts are good enough for me, and I've read the attachments which go for over 100 pages, and I certainly don't believe that they've proved existing rights at all.
Okay, Councillor Goldsworthy.
It's an interesting issue, this one. Obviously, there's been events held at Mount Ophir for a number of years over the history of it. As to whether it constitutes continued use and whether they satisfy the Act or not, it is a difficult one. I feel that the original application by the Browns should have passed. This is not up for decision today, but I'd say they'll be successful at VCAT. For this one, yeah, I can't see that it complies with the Act as required. We received a letter from the solicitors acting on behalf of the applicant, which was concerning in its mannerisms and almost threatening behaviour, but we'll see how they go at VCAT in relation to that. I originally was of a mind to vote against this recommendation, but given some of the discussion that's gone on, I have opened my mind to the thought that this really should be a motion that is passed by council, and yeah, even though the venue is entirely suitable to hold a number of events, they do need some restrictions put around when those events can be held, the number, and some of the things that need to be done for it. So for that reason, I'll be voting for this motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Gaffney, you want to make any final comments as the mover?
Yes, I would. It's just that we did get an email from the applicant who attached a letter from her solicitors, who the solicitor for the Shire regarding as no objective advice whatsoever, and the language used was emotive and evocative. I read it. It was threatening. I don't think there was any substance to it. I'm sure that this would hold up well at VCAT. I disagree with Councillor Goldsworthy, and I don't know why he referred to the previous applicant, which has got nothing to do with this motion whatsoever, to say that they would win at VCAT. I don't know what he bases that knowledge on, but I think he's wrong. In fact, I'm sure he's wrong.
Okay, well, I'll take that as a comment, but in the meantime, I'm going to put...
I was summing up, Madam Mayor, not asking a question.
Oh, have you finished? Right. So the recommendation is that this application be refused. All those in favour of that decision? Okay, thank you. And I think it's really, I guess I want to make the point, reiterating really from what Councillor Goldsworthy said, that I know there is a genuine will on the part of this council to want to see Mount Ophir be a successful venue and a successful business for the Browns, who have invested a lot. And really, this is about what are the conditions around that. And we're very willing to work on that with them. And I hope we find a way forward. Unfortunately, this was not that way forward. So I know I'm speaking on behalf of a number of councillors when I say that. Item 10.4 is planning permit application PP 180189. Albert Road, Beechworth, Mayday Hills. The recommendation is that council approves the application for the subdivision of land at 46 Oak Avenue, Beechworth, into 5 lots subject to the conditions included at attachment 1, and issues a notice of decision to grant a planning permit. Do I have someone to move that? I have Councillor Goldsworthy, seconded by Councillor Gaffney. Croucher, sorry, I'm going to say because I think I saw the tip of your finger, Pete. You just need to put it up higher because of the angle of your computer. So Councillor Goldsworthy, seconded by Councillor Croucher. Over to you, Councillor Goldsworthy.
Look, the application speaks for itself. They're on fairly large allotments. There's been a lot of work done with the applicant over the years in relation to this. I believe this one is relatively straightforward, and we should accept it.
Okay, Councillor Croucher.
Yes. I thought it's my chives. I'll have to go out and put them off. They just drive me crazy, I think, at the moment. Look, I had the opportunity of going up to see this site, and what a beautiful site it is. It's just absolutely fantastic. And after reading the report, I see that it's quite acceptable. It's in a mixed zone, and I can't see any problem with this particular one at all. The only thing I was a little bit aware of was the roads, but I see that it is the council's responsibility to be maintaining the roads and actually fixing them up as well. But that's my point of view.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? And I'm sorry about my dog scratching at the door. I'll just say, Councillor Gaffney.
I'd just like to say, Madam Mayor, that the future use of this site for housing is encouraged by the planning scheme. This particular development is only a stone's throw from the current location of the famous Castle House. The gardens at Mayday, just the setting. It's a beautiful place to live, and I certainly encourage this subdivision. As I said, they're quite large blocks, really nice environment, and having the castle only a stone's throw away would bring back very happy memories for a lot of people.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? For or against? Okay, I'm going to put the motion. Oh, sorry, back to you, Councillor Goldsworthy.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, all those in favour? And no one's against, so carried. Thanks, councillors. 10.5, planning permit application PP 200060, Nash's Road, Rutherglen. The recommendation is that the attached draft development plan be endorsed as an approved development plan for the purposes of section 43.04 of the Indigo planning scheme, subject to the following amendments. I won't go through them all. They're quite specific. They're there for everyone to see. Are you moving this, Councillor Shepherd, or are you asking a question?
I'm just wanting to know if I could move an amendment to that motion.
Yes, you can. Oh, firstly, is anyone moving the motion as is? Okay, put the amendment, councillor.
That we cross out number 1, that we add, and number 2 says lots 6, 7, 10 and 11 reconfigured to have frontage and access to Williamson Road only. And number 6 be put, oh, and then in number 5, inclusion of a notation requiring the provision of pedestrian links along, adding Williamson Road into that list of roads. Number 6, inclusion of a notation requiring Williamson Road to be constructed with the costs borne by the developer to the standard and satisfaction of the responsible authority.
Okay. I'm a bit confused here. Sorry, I'm looking at.
Yeah, could I make a suggestion here, Mayor?
Yeah, just I'm sorry, Councillor, but I couldn't find where.
Okay, so number 6 was added in. So
Oh,
that,
right.
yeah. And because number 1's crossed out, it's still number 1, but it's crossed out. That's the issue, that why the numbering isn't matching. So number 1's crossed out. Number 2 is added.
And number 2 becomes number 1.
Yeah.
Yep. So there was an email sent by Rebecca Moy that will list the specifics of that.
Okay.
I'm happy to second that motion.
Yep. All right. Good. So given that you put the amendment, do you wish to speak to that, Councillor Shepherd?
Yeah. Look, I just think it's poor planning having battle axe development when there's a road there that we can access for the building lots that face that way. Instead of having long drives going out onto the other road, why not open Williamson Road and have planning with each lot having their own access to a road? I just think it's poor planning having battle axe subdivision. I understand as infill in in large cities, but it just doesn't make sense to do otherwise, especially when we've got a road there that we can use. Okay. We received an objection from the rural suppliers, but we've included a condition that the building envelopes of the 3 allotments identified be set back from the boundary of this business. Mm-hmm. So I think with those 2 things covered, I think I'm happy to move this motion.
Okay, great. Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Goldsworthy, you seconded it. Do you wish to speak to it? So
the practical effect of the amendment to the recommendation is that there'll be the removal of the 4 battle axe blocks, and also Williamson Road will be a sealed road. I see the advantage of this as 1, for orderly planning, and 2, in future years, if those blocks are further subdivided, which any future owner would be quite entitled to do, they'd have easy access out onto Williamson Road, and I wouldn't be looking to council to try and upgrade that road, which is currently a dirt road, into something more, when really it's incumbent on the developer to have that forward planning now. So I believe in any development plan, we should be looking at utilising the existing facilities like that road now.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Gaffney.
The last time I looked, sorry?
Okay, go.
The last time I looked, battle axe blocks weren't in the planning scheme as against. Is that just a personal thing? Because if somebody's going to buy a block and it's a battle axe block, why would council stand in their way and change it? I just don't know why. As I said, that we're not against them in our scheme, our planning scheme. Perhaps we should amend that if we're against them. And I don't know what the basis of being against those blocks is. There's certainly plenty of them around Indigo Shire. And if people want to buy those and build them, why are we against it?
Okay, so Councillor Gaffney, when you ask that question, are you asking that of Councillor Shepherd, who raised that issue?
Well, they both mentioned it, the mover and the seconder.
So who are you asking the question of?
Well, Councillor Shepherd can mention it. I think she's always against battle axe blocks, but I'm not sure why.
Okay, do you wish to answer that?
Is it a personal thing?
No, it's not personal. What would I have personally against a battle axe drive? No.
I don't know.
It's the fact that with a long drive down beside someone's property, that drive often gets neglected. And so it's difficult to plant it out because you're right next to somebody else who might have solar, or there's a whole lot of issue around. You've got a long drive going all the way down the back, and often they're left unmowed, untended, because the person thinks of their property at the beginning of when the drive ends. And so they often end up very unkempt. And it just is a cheap way of development when we've got a road on the other side where people can have access straight onto a road with their drive going straight onto the road. It just, there's often a lot said against Battle X driveways.
Okay. Thanks for the answer. And Councillor Gaffney, you got any further questions, or do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, I'm happy with that, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Horn.
I just have a couple of queries from the applicant. He was wondering why there'd been such a lengthy delay in bringing this decision to this council meeting. And further to that, he was curious as to why he was asked to contribute 5% towards open space rather than the 2% he did on the previous occasion.
Okay, so I'm going to hand that to Director Pinkerton to answer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, the first question I would struggle to answer without notice, so I can certainly send an email to councillors or in a briefing session get back to you as to the time that it's taken. Most times where there has been a delay, particularly with a development like this, it relates to just getting all of the things aligned. I think there was, from memory, some questions about drainage in this particular subdivision. So those sorts of things often take a while to sort out. As far as the 5% is in the Planning and Environment Act as the standard amount for that, for public open space. Sorry, in the Subdivision Act. The 5% is fairly normal. Some developers, we're able to work out public open space within the development, and other developers where it's not suitable in the development, they provide a contribution for council to use that money elsewhere to provide appropriate public open space. So the question would probably be more about what were the mitigating circumstances, or what was in the past development that made it less than 5%, because certainly 5% is the standard for most developments. And I can't answer that other question, but yeah, certainly lower than 5% is unusual and would normally have mitigating circumstances.
Depending on where the circumstances of the other place. Yeah, he said that it started off in March. Yeah, so I presumed it was to do with COVID. Thank you.
So, and you'll take that one on notice, the why a delay, and get that information back to Councillor Horn and the rest of us. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Going back to Councillor Shepherd, who put the motion, do you wish to sum up?
No, that's fine.
Nope. All right, so I'm going to put the motion that we recommend the development plan with the amendments that Councillor Shepherd moved and Councillor Goldsworthy endorsed. I'm not going to read them out, but Jane, do you have those clearly represented? Great, I'm going to put the motion then. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Carried. Thank you, councillors. Item 10.6 is the planning permit application PP 200070, 50 to 74 High Street, Rutherglen. The recommendation is that council approves this application for the use, development and subdivision of land at 50 to 74 High Street, Rutherglen for a restaurant, industry, function centre, art and craft centre, car parking and liquor licence, and issues a notice of decision to issue a planning permit in accordance with the conditions contained in attachment 2. But I am going to throw to Director Pinkerton just to clarify what those conditions are.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There is a small typo in the conditions, and so it's worth updating the recommended resolution to just clarify that. So what I would add to the end of that recommended resolution, so it's as you had read, finishing with the words in accordance with the conditions contained in attachment 2 to this report, and subject to condition 6 being amended to reflect that the opening hours of the industry, and in brackets microbrewery, being Friday and Saturday 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Sunday 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So that was also contained in an email that was sent through to Council Laws that you would have time stamped at 5:44 tonight.
Councillor Goldsworthy, are you moving or do you have a question?
Yeah, look, it's semantics, it's words. As the director read out, he said the opening hours. The email actually said the operating hours. I just wonder if there's a difference. Operating might mean when you can brew it. Opening might mean when you can sell it.
No, I'm sorry, you're right. We need to get the wording correct. It is important. I didn't realise I'd said that wrong word. So operating hours is the correct wording.
Okay.
I'm
Anyone
just happy to move it.
Happy to move. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Goldsworthy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd, are you seconding? Or are you, yes, seconding? It's hard to say. And Councillor Goldsworthy, do you wish to speak to the motion?
I do. This was a location where we all went out on a site visit, except for you good self, actually, I think, Mayor. But it was, look, it's a great location. It's been let go for a few years, and it would be terrific to see it revitalised and contribute to the economy of the Rutherglen area and the broader district. I'm sure it'll attract visitors from far and wide. There was a administrative issue that caused a delay in this coming towards council for decision. I'm glad to see it's here, and hopefully the applicants can really make a go of this facility. And the conditions, I hope, will ensure that there's no impact on the amenity of the area and the immediate surrounds.
Thanks, Councillor. Seconder, Councillor Shepherd, do you wish to speak to the motion?
I do. I think this is a very exciting application. We've been here before and the property's been sold. So 1989, I think, was the last time the convent was in use. So it's been a long time that it's been sitting there with everybody seeing its potential and nothing happening. So I imagine Rutherglen is very excited. As a matter of fact, we've got 21 letters of support. We don't often get that many letters of support. It's often objections. We've got 3 objections, but I think the objections are mainly around things that we've covered with the conditions, but also the issue of having a microbrewery there, which is something that you would have to say a reason for having that in a heritage building. But the thing is, it's in the science lab, which probably works quite well, a microbrewery or a distillery in a science lab. And the fact that without having the rent from this particular part of the business, I think it wouldn't be sustainable for them to do the maintenance and support of the heritage part of that building. So I know this needs to happen for them to be able to support the work that they're doing there. And I commend them. I think they're doing a great job.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Croucher?
I just have a question. It's to do with the car park. Is there parking for buses? Because I could imagine that a lot of buses would go down there with a lot of people in it. Does the car park take into consideration bus parking?
I'm getting nodding from Councillor Shepherd.
Yes, there is.
Yep.
Thank you.
Do you want to reinforce that, or it's all good? You happy with that?
Thank you. Yep.
Right. Councillor Gaffney, you were next. Oh, sorry. Councillor Croucher, anything else from you? No, good. Councillor Gaffney.
I'd just like to say that this is a major tourist attraction for the area. For Rutherglen, there's minimal adverse amenity impacts, and it's just so good to see fresh life being a restored heritage building. It's going to be used. It's just an outstanding venue, and I wish them all the best, and I'm sure that it'll be very successful.
Right. Anyone else? Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Horn.
Yes, I'd like to endorse all the former comments from people. This is an excellent addition to the tourism offering, and also there's a very good community feel about how this whole operation can interact with the local community and their involvement in the whole community. Thank you very much for allowing the opportunity to welcome those people and commend the work that they've done. They've done a great job.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to put the motion on. Before I do, Councillor Goldsworthy, do you wish to sum up?
Not really. I think given my fellow councillors' discussion, this one's in the bag.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's in the bag indeed. And congratulations to them. And yes, a fantastic project for Rutherglen. We're all very excited to see this come to fruition. 10.7 is planning permit application PP 200121 922 Sandy Creek Road, Sandy Creek. The recommendation is that council approves this application for the use and development of land at 922 Sandy Creek Road, Sandy Creek, for the purpose of a dwelling, subject to the conditions included at attachment 2, and issues a notice of decision to grant a permit. Do I have someone to move it? Councillor Croucher, thank you. Do I have a seconder? I've got Councillor Shepherd. Okay, Councillor Croucher.
Look, this application ticks all of the boxes. It takes into account with the rural policy of the Indigo planning scheme, and certainly won't adversely affect agriculture using any nearby land. So I'm quite happy to endorse this particular planning application.
Great. Councillor Shepherd, you wish to second the motion? Do you wish to speak to it?
Oh, I know that there was one submission against, and that's the neighbour concerned about being able to see it. But looking at the plans, I think it's reasonable that you'll only be able to see one story. And I also am happy with the condition that it's moved back from the creek reserve. So yeah, I'm happy to support this motion too.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? No, can't see any hands up. Councillor Croucher, you wish to add any final comments to sum up?
No, nothing else. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. 10.8, planning permit application PP 200175 33 Jacks Creek Road, Beechworth. The recommendation is council approves this application for the use and development of land at 33 Jacks Creek Road, Beechworth, for group accommodation, subject to the conditions included at the attachment, and issues a notice of decision to approve a permit. Do I have someone to move this? I'm going to go with Councillor Goldsworthy. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd. Okay, I'm going to start with Councillor Goldsworthy. Wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah. Look, it's only a fairly modest proposal, a couple of pods out in the bush, really. I don't think it'll impact on too many people, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'd imagine that if it's not successful, they'll be able to easily resell them.
Okay, good. Councillor Shepherd.
I think the title group accommodation makes you a little nervous, but that's 2 pods. And they're quite a small envelope, and really a couple is all that's going to be able to fit in those pods. So I think it's probably a good addition to that business to be able to have people stay. And again, one submission against it, and it was the neighbour, and which is based on the location rather than the proposed use. The siting of the building won't have any detrimental impact, so I can't see any reason for not approving these.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Croucher.
Look, I had the pleasure of actually going to see these pods, and they certainly look very unique to me. I think they'd be a terrific idea, and I didn't think that their size would cause any too many problems around the particular area as well. But what did concern me a little bit was the condition of the road to actually get up there. So I hope that will be taken into consideration, because to actually get to the pods was quite difficult at times. But they were lovely. I think that would be something that would be great.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Okay, I'm smiling because it was quite an event to get up that driveway, but I made it and Councillor Gaffney didn't. So just to make that point, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Okay, 10.9, planning permit application PP 180202.1, 124 Main Street, Rutherglen. The recommendation is that council refuses this planning permit application on the grounds that insufficient information has been submitted with the application to enable an assessment to be undertaken against clause 43.01, the heritage overlay. Do I have someone to move this? Councillor Goldsworthy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gaffney. Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yeah, look, we are the Heritage Shire. It was interesting to be briefed on some of the changes that have been made without the creek permit. A bit of a laissez-faire attitude from the owners in relation to it. We've got to protect our built heritage, whilst the building itself does have some aesthetic features to it now that it's been redone. And I wish the business every success. You do have to go through and apply just like everybody else. You have to submit plans of what you're going to do. You need to get permission from council, and to just go ahead and do the work without that, I think it's contemptuous. So we need to refuse this planning permit application, and we need some serious conversations with the owners and the applicant to remediate the area.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Gaffney?
I'd like to say, Madam Mayor, that I completely agree with Councillor Goldsworthy. We are the Heritage Shire, and this premises has a heritage overlay, and the applicant has failed to submit a complete application. And I also wish them every success, but there's rules are rules. Otherwise, we'd just become like Wodonga or Wangaratta, and we certainly wouldn't like that.
Not that we've got anything against Wodonga or Wangaratta, but they're not heritage shires.
Nice place to visit.
I'm gonna ignore that comment. I'm gonna go Councillor Shepherd. Have you got Councillor Shepherd? You had your hand. Did you wish to speak to this? Oh, sorry, I thought you did. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Horn.
I think possibly there was a bit of over-ambitious activity here. I don't know that it was sort of any way disregarding the regulations on purpose. I think they thought that they were improving it. And when you invoke a position like this, it's something that you probably only do once in your lifetime. So there's so many things that you have to consider. And I'm sure that they did what they did in the hope that, or in the idea that it was actually improving the situation without knowing the underlying value that we place on our heritage.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion before I go back to Councillor Goldsworthy? Okay, Councillor Goldsworthy.
I'll just reiterate the importance of doing things in a consensual way, following the regulations that are pretty well known by all. You need planning permission to do these sort of things, and we need to look after our built heritage environment.
Okay, so recommendation to refuse based on a lack of a suitable amount of information. All those in favour? Okay, carried unanimously. Thanks, councillors. And yes, we do wish that business well, and it is important that people follow the rules. Otherwise, of course, we would lose our heritage pretty quickly. So unfortunately, we have to be pretty strict about that. 10.10, planning permit application PP 200281 is Jackson Drive and Kiwa East Road, Tangam.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Can I? This is
Councillor.
where I will declare a conflict of interest,
Oh,
and
of
I
course,
shall
sorry.
leave the room, or somebody will take
You
me
just
out.
wait right
and I'll-
there, and our governance officer will, or I think one of you, Director Greg Pinkerton or Jane, will put you in a waiting room where you can neither see nor hear what's going on.
And I'll go and take those wind chimes down.
Okay, I can't hear them now. All right. Okay, so Peter Croucher is now no longer able to participate in the meeting due to a conflict of interest. The recommendation is that Council approves the application PP 200281 for the subdivision of Lot F PSA 23622 Jackman Drive and Kiwa East Road, Tangambalanga, subject to the conditions included at attachment 6 and grants a permit. Do I have someone to move this? Councillor Goldsworthy, do I have a seconder? Councillor Gaffney. Okay, Councillor Goldsworthy, over to you.
First of all, I'd like to thank the seconder. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Okay.
Look, the things are going ahead leaps and bounds out there at Tangambalanga. It is our fastest growing area, and this just shows it. If you drive out to the existing development where it is, every block, if it hasn't already been built on, it's got a sold sign on it. This will be an ongoing development, and I think it bodes well for the area. We've just got to get them a supermarket.
Yes, okay. Councillor Gaffney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's certainly the fastest growing area in Indigo Shire, and there's a shortage right across rural and regional Victoria for residential blocks. This is an extra 33. It meets all the requirements of the Indigo planning scheme, and I agree with everything that Councillor Goldsworthy said. The amount of housing, the number of children that have increased in that primary school is just amazing. We're attracting families. I'm sure you'd agree with me, Madam Mayor, there's no better place to live than Indigo Shire.
That is so true, Councillor Gaffney. And we desperately need houses and residences. So, yeah, absolutely right. And any other councillor wish to speak to this? Councillor Shepherd.
I just have a question. It was raised that the school needs more parking, and it's been something that's been discussed for a long time. And you just said that, you know, with all this development, that lots of kids. So I'm just wondering, what's our role in that?
Okay, Director Pinkerton, given that it's a planning matter, I'll hand over to you, but you can pass it back to the CEO if you like. Thank
you, Madam Mayor. I will probably handball this one. From a planning perspective, that's not something that enters into the decision. And I recognise that that's a pure planning answer and not a great community answer. So I will pass to the CEO, who I believe might have some other information on that. Okay, great. CEO.
I think Greg did cover it. It's not an obligation on the developer to provide parking for the local schools. It's to the schools themselves and the education department. We know that the state education department doesn't provide parking inside schools. They feel like land should be for education, not for cars. So they have an aversion to spending money on car parking for state schools, unfortunately. In this case, the best outcome would have been perhaps a long time ago for the schools and the developer to talk and negotiate and see if they can come to some arrangement. But there's nothing council could do to interfere in that. This is a private matter between the school and the developer, and if the developer was able to find a way to make land available to them at a commercial price, I'm sure the school could have done that, but it hasn't been the case so far. But we're certainly aware of that issue, and we've certainly encouraged both parties to get together and see if there is an outcome in that, but it hasn't seemed to have happened to date, unfortunately.
Greg Pinkerton, you've got your hand up again.
Yes, thank you. I'm receiving a number of voices in my ear, just reminding me that the development plan upon which this is based does have parking for the school identified. So, you know, perhaps not the size or location, I'm not too sure, but it certainly does identify that there is a school there and schools need parking. So the concept is certainly recognised. How that all eventuates on the ground is probably the conversation that is yet to happen. But certainly, council staff are, wherever possible, try and negotiate these sorts of outcomes between the two parties.
Great. Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Any other hands? Yes, Councillor Horn.
I'd just like to say that the proximity of this area to Albury-Wodonga makes it a very attractive place, and it is excellent to see so many new families moving to that area. It's a totally different feeling to the last time I visited there, which was about 4 years ago. So it's very, very encouraging.
Great, thank you, Councillor. I think that's everyone, and going back to Councillor Goldsworthy for summing up.
All good, thanks, Mayor.
Okay, so I'll put the motion to approve this application. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't have a Councillor Croucher. Carried, and can we get Councillor Croucher back into the meeting? Thank you. Hello, welcome back. All right, so 10.11 is the planning permit application PP 200307, 105 Fraser Road, Browns Plain. The recommendation is that council approves this application for the development of land at 105 Fraser Road, Browns Plain by the construction of buildings and works associated with agriculture solar energy facility, subject to the conditions included at attachment 3 and grants a permit. Do I have someone to move this? Councillor Goldsworthy, do I have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Goldsworthy.
This proposed solar plant is 30 kilowatts. It's 110 metres by 8 metres. It's fairly insignificant if you compare it to those large power plants that you see cropping up around Winton nowadays. It makes really good sense. Depending on the type of irrigation, the irrigator, if he's on electricity, could be paying upwards of $10,000 a year just in electricity costs. This makes common sense, and you'd like to see more of it probably across our agricultural industry if they're doing large-scale irrigation for crops.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Shepherd.
This is a rural space, and it's a long way from any other property, really. So I don't think it's going to impact on, a long way from the roads. We went out and had a look at this, looked at the site. So I don't think it's going to be an eyesore or blind anyone. So as Councillor Goldsworthy said, it makes real sense for our farming community to use solar when they can.
Thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this? Councillor Gaffney.
Just a couple of questions for the Director of Planning and Corporate Services. Was this application advertised?
Thank you for the question. Through the Mayor, it was to the surrounding neighbours.
Was there any objections?
I don't believe there was, Councillor. I'll double check, but I don't think there was.
The only concerns I've had, and Councillor Shepherd certainly mentioned it, and that was the glare, that you wouldn't be able to tell that until they were put in, I suppose. Yes, Director.
So through the Mayor,
Sorry, Madam Mayor.
there were no submissions received from the neighbours.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Councillor Gaffney?
No.
Okay, Councillor Horn.
My concern is, I mean, this is a small site, but my concern is that it is on good farming soil. And I think if any people are concerned about it, is that is an issue that would be top of their list. But the other worrying thing is about the future, that they may intend to expand out and use this for more than just running their winery operation. That is my concern.
So sorry, your concern is that they might put in another application to extend it.
In time, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, but at this point, we can only vote on
Yes.
what they have done. We don't know what they're going to do. So, just a reminder that we have to vote on what is the motion itself as it stands. Councillor, anything else, Councillor Horn? No, Councillor Croucher, did you have your hand up before? Oh, okay. Sorry, my apologies. I'm going
Just
to.
a question, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, sure.
Would all other commercial solar farms, would they all come to council, or would they be done under delegation in the rural zone? And I'm not talking about them on roofs or anything like that. I'm talking about, and I wouldn't call this large scale. All large scale, would they come to council? I know they haven't in the past, and I'm not going to go over that old ground, but I just wondered.
My understanding is yes, they will. It's one of the things that we've said we do want to come to council. I'll just check in with Director Pinkerton. Is that correct?
Not quite. So you're absolutely right, Councillor Orr, that the solar panels on a roof in line with a household wouldn't come, and I know that that's not the thrust of your question. There is absolutely a delegation restriction on council staff, so that if we receive an application, then it does come to council. However, there is a limit, and off the top of my head, I don't know what that limit is, but there's a limit of a certain number of megawatts above which it's handled by the state government. Council does have a role in that process, but if a large solar farm was to be proposed, it would bypass council, go to state government, and state government would certainly ask council for their input, but it would be ultimately determined by the Minister for Planning.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Gaffney, have you got any further questions on that?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm coming back then to Councillor. Oh, anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Sorry, just checking. Okay, Councillor Goldsworthy, back to you.
Yeah, just the solar array will be a good 800 metres away from the Murray Valley Highway. I don't anticipate there'll be any glare issues, particularly when you look at what is going on in other places. It just makes good environmental sense.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour of supporting this application? 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyone against? Okay, so it's carried. And Jane, have you got the, I need to read out the names. Sorry, those in favour, Councillor O'Connor, Goldsworthy, Croucher and Shepherd. And against, sorry, Councillor Gaffney, you're in favour? Yes, and against, Councillor Horn. Okay, thank you. But it is carried. So 11.1, we're up to the, oh, thank you. I just want to thank the Planning Department. It was a very big agenda for them to get ready for us. There were 11 items for planning and corporate services, including the finance report. So a big thanks to the department staff for a major effort, and a big thanks to our new manager, Rebecca Moy, who has certainly hit the ground running in her new role with some pretty big things there to be sorted out. So I think we've already stated, I just want to say in the public arena that, you know, we're really appreciative of the work of the staff and of course of our directors. So thank you very much. Item 11.1 is community grants. So the decision is that Council distribute $50,000 in the 2020-21 Indigo Shire Community Grants Program as follows. And I'm not going to read them out because there's 21 grants that we are allocating, and that we then, but so they're all there in the agenda. Everybody can see them quite readily if they want to have a look. With that, we thank the Indigo Shire Community Grants and Awards Advisory Committee for the work that they did in helping us in putting this list together. So I'm going to, Peter Croucher, it looks like you're going to move this. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gaffney. Okay, so Councillor Croucher.
Look, these community grants are a wonderful acquisition to our shire. I can remember going back years and years. And I really do feel that they are sort of unique to our Shire. And having lived in the community, the smaller sporting groups and other groups really appreciate these grants, and they're just a wonderful thing for the Shire to have. And there's been many community and voluntary groups who have actually blossomed from the assistance from these sort of grants. They've started off as seeding their money and have gone right through. So well done to the Community Grants and Awards Advisory Committee, which I think I might be on next time because I was absent last time. So there we are.
Okay, great. And yes, it's great to see so many organisations getting grants. Councillor Gaffney.
I'd just like to mention I chaired the meeting of this committee, which is quite a large committee. There'd be at least 10 or more there. And they're all members from the community spread right across the Shire. None of these grants, there is no council involvement whatsoever. There is no involvement from staff apart from answering any questions and preparing the documents. It's all community driven and community run, and $50,000 is a fair whack. And they're just so thorough before they vote. But usually there's mainly consensus, and I think it's a very good thing, and it's very democratic.
Okay, great. Thanks. That's great to hear, Councillor. And anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Shepherd.
I just had a question to ask, really. It was the first time we've used an online portal for people to apply, which was to cut administrative sort of palaver. I'm just wondering whether we know whether the people who applied found it easy to use. I know probably from our aspect it was pretty handy, but I'm just wondering whether the applicants...
Yeah, I'll come to you, Councillor Gaffney, seeing as you were chairing the committee. Can you answer that? Have you got any insight?
It's a very interesting question because I knew that had occurred, and it was the least amount of applications made in recent years, but everything else went well. But everybody blamed COVID for the lack of, because normally the percentage who get funded is not absolutely that high, but on this occasion it was because of the fewer applications. I'm not saying that was caused because they were done online, but I thought it was an interesting fact. But I can't answer the question.
Maybe Director Florence, have you had any feedback at all, or have the staff in your team had any feedback?
Yeah, I think on this one and subsequent, well, you can see in this report that 20 of the 21 grants that were awarded were received, their applications were received online. So I think that's a pretty good indication. I think the COVID issue is quite legitimate with these groups because they weren't able to meet and to gather their information and sources. But yeah, overall, I think the online portal has been a very good initiative.
Great, excellent to hear. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Any others? Councillor Croucher, do you wish to sum up?
Oh, just to thank Councillor Gaffney for his wonderful chairmanship, as he always does in these situations, in my absence at that particular time. And also, if you have a look at the spread of grants, it goes right throughout the Shire, which is just wonderful.
Okay, so I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? And anyone against? Councillor Goldsworthy, against? I've got to get the, were you in favour, Councillor Goldsworthy? I wasn't sure. Yes, in favour. Okay.
No, I voted for it.
I'm getting a delay on you. Sorry. I didn't see you. There's a bit of a delay going on. So all those in favour, and it's unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Sorry about that. Your hand came up on my screen when I said anyone against, so I didn't. That's why I was confused. 11.2 is the Community Events Grant Program. Recommendation is that Council distribute $12,500 in 2020-21 Indigo Shire Community Events Grant Program as follows. And again, there are 7 there. We also then allocate the remaining $2,500 budget to the Community Comeback Project to support community events in Yakandanda, Rutherglen, Waggunya and Kiwa Tangam throughout 2021. And we thank the Community Events Grant Assessment Panel. The 7 successful grants are listed there. I won't read them all out, but do I have someone to move that motion? Councillor Horn. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Horn, over to you.
I attended this meeting and I was very pleased to see the entries, obviously, but also the flexibility that was afforded the applicants, because there were a couple of people who applied for other grants and they were slotted into this particular program because it was more fitting in the application. And I also noted the level of consideration by the panel, not only to achieving the best value in terms of bringing community together, but also they were very focused on the participants and what they would gain at a personal level. And I was delighted by the outcome.
Thank you, Councillor. Great. Councillor Shepherd.
I'd just like to congratulate the ITAC committee, really, who found, as Councillor Horn said, that gap where they would apply for the tourism event grants and they didn't really fit that role. And so there was a suggestion that this new community event fund be set up. And so it's great to see that that we've got $12,500, which will make a difference to community events, and great to see such good applications.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak to this one? Okay, I'm going to put the Councillor Horn, do you wish to sum up with any further comments? Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Great, carried. Thank you. And the 11.3 is the Indigo Tourism Events Grant Program. This is for $30,000 for the 2021 Tourism Grant Event Program, which it's not a bigger list, so I will read them out as follows. It's been distributed to the National Busking Championship, Celtic Festival, Shifty 50, Beechworth Cyclocross, Swings and Roundabouts, Jailhouse Rock and Art Walks, all of course to support tourism in our recovery in Indigo Shire. So do I have someone to move that recommendation? Councillor Goldsworthy, do I have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Goldsworthy, over to you.
Yep. So these grants are really important to provide seed funding for events, to get them started and to support them just in their early years. The hope is obviously the payback to the community and to tourism and the economic development for our area. $30,000 thrown on top of the 15 for the events grants, and then the community grants of $50,000. All told, $95,000. It's a significant support that the Indigo Shire is providing out of ratepayers' money. There's a lot of due diligence that's done in relation to all of the selection process and everything like that. So I thank the staff for all their input, and let's hope that these events that have been provided funding get off the ground and are successful.
Okay, Councillor Shepherd.
I have to reiterate that it just makes me nervous seeing them even on the screen. So often we see things that are going to happen and they don't. So I've just got my fingers crossed that they look like great events, and let's hope that they happen. So I'm just brave. Yeah, I'm just thinking it's brave of them to apply, and let's hope that they really do occur.
Yes, absolutely. And I think you're referring to the fact that COVID tends to get in the way, not that they won't perform adequately. Yeah, okay. Any other councillors wish to speak? Yes, Councillor Horn.
I'd like to know what Shifty 50 is all about. That sounds amazing.
I haven't got it in front of me, but does someone want it? Yeah, Mark Florence.
Without too much detail, it's a series of cycle events, across disciplines and cross ages. So there's a whole range of things. But the details will be in the attachments, Councillor.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a 50-kilometre mountain bike event if you're up for it.
I'm sure we all will be. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Great, carried unanimously. And look, when you do have a look at what these events are, they are really exciting and innovative. And as Councillor Shepherd said, let's hope they actually get the opportunity to deliver them this year. Okay, 12.1 is the January Capital Works report. And we're now moving into infrastructure. So again, thank you to Director Mark Florence and his team for all the work on the community and economic development work that's been done, particularly around those grants. And let's hope that they do assist us with our recovery. We're into infrastructure services. So Director Ian Ellett is in the hot seat. And we're going to start with 12.1, the January Capital Works project. So the recommendation is that Council notes the Capital Works report and the year-to-date achievements in the delivery of the Capital Works program. Do I have someone to move this? Thanks, Councillor Goldsworthy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Croucher. Okay, Councillor Goldsworthy.
Look, to assure the ratepayers, we do go through the 6-page of matrix for the Capital Works projects fairly extensively during briefing meetings. Now is probably not the time to wade through it, but it is more than $11 million worth of projects on the go this financial year. There's a significant amount happening all around the Shire, and I'm fully supportive of it. I'm appreciative of the fact that we are looking at this as an individual item still, and yeah, there's a lot going on. It's what the community hopes for, that we do a good job and get value for money, and I believe with what's happening, we're doing that.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Croucher.
Yeah, I'd just like to endorse Councillor Goldsworthy's report there. We did take a while to go through a lot, and there is a lot that is happening around the Shire. And for somebody who's new back on council, it is quite unbelievable to see what things are happening as well. And I'd just like to congratulate the infrastructure services, the capital projects as well for this particular report, and I'm quite happy with it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this? Councillor Shepherd.
I'd just like to say how great it is to get the Kigunya Hall off our forward planning, having been there for the whole time I've been on council. Yeah. And we'd always say, are they going to get their money? And we'd go, oh, there'd be great discussion about it. And the fact that they've got the money and it's going to happen it's very exciting.
It is, and as someone who fell down the step firsthand, I'm very pleased for them. They have really advocated hard, and it's really great to see that come about. So yeah, there's some great things in this. Does anyone else wish to speak to this? Councillor Gaffney.
I'd just like to say that it was really good that we got a Commonwealth grant for that, and it didn't have to be paid by the ratepayers. It's a non-council asset, but we've supported it. I think Councillor Croucher would recall when he was on council 5 or 6 years ago that he pushed hard for it, and whilst he's been away, we've all pushed up that stream. So it's just great to get a grant for it, and I know the community are very, very thrilled. Is that right, Councillor Croucher?
Absolutely correct there, Councillor Gaffney. They are, and it's worthy of a really strong working group and a great community, Kigunya.
Okay, so Kigunya, you get a big tick. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion about the overall report? Councillor Shepherd.
Can I just quickly, I know it's an aside, but when I did go there, they did say that Councillor Croucher normally performed there. So I just wanted to bring that up as a quick aside.
Bit of a conflict of interest really for Councillor Croucher. Got his own performing arts centre now. Okay, anyone else wish to speak to the Capital Works report? Okay, Councillor Goldsworthy, do you wish to sum up?
Only that I'd heard the federal government weren't willing to pay for the Kigunya Hall until Councillor Croucher got back on council.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to take that as a comment. We'll just we'll put the motion. All those in favour of the Capital Works report. And again, to Director Ellett and his team, thank you. Huge amount of work going on there, and we greatly appreciate it. 12.2 is the Waganya Multi-Purpose Hard Courts Tender Recommendation. Again, this is a really exciting project to finally see this come about. The recommendation is that Council awards the contract construction of the Waganya Multi-Purpose Hard Courts and Lighting Project to Idwala, I don't know how to say it, Proprietary Limited, for the lump sum of $899,670.40, excluding GST. Authorises the CEO to sign the contract documents and affix the Council's common seal, and authorises the CEO financial delegation to approve contract variations up to 10%, a total of 10% of the signed contract value. Do I have someone to move this? Councillor Gaffney. Do I have a seconder? Someone going to second? Thanks, Councillor Goldsworthy. Okay, Councillor Gaffney first.
I was a bit concerned then myself.
Yeah.
$1 million project for Waganya. When I was there on Australia Day, it's all that they were talking about, and there were dozens and dozens of children, and they were all excited, and they wanted to know where it was going to be put and how it was going to look, and they went out in the rain, and it's just good. It's state government money. And I'd just like to put in a word for the Mayor, Councillor Jenny O'Connor, who I know advocated for this with Jacqueline Symes, and it was a state government grant. She's the member for Northern Victoria. Just wonderful. And to see those children's faces, they are so excited about it.
That's great. Thanks for that, Councillor. But I think we all worked on this one, actually, and I know you did as well. Councillor Goldsworthy, do you wish to second?
Yeah, look, of the 4 submissions, this was probably the most outstanding one of the criteria that they were given. It will be a great facility, and it continues the support that Council and the state government has given the Waganya community in building up that rec reserve area, the oval, and all that's going on there. It'll end up being a showpiece for the rest of the Shire, that particular reserve.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? I've got Councillor Horn and then Councillor Croucher.
I'd like to commend the Waganya community. They've always been excellent advocates.
You might need to turn your... Sorry, Roberta. You might need to turn... Yeah. Try again. When you've got the camera on, it's a bit hard to hear you. Go on.
Sure.
Off you go.
I would just like to commend the Waganya community for their ongoing efforts. They've always been very strong family and community spirit there, and this is an excellent outcome for them.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Horn. And pop your camera back on. We could hear you well then. And Councillor Croucher.
Thank you. Is it me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I'd just like to endorse everything that everybody said. Back in my time when I was in council before, I've watched this actual ground grow with the new buildings that have been there. I've played a couple of sets of tennis on there myself and watched many a netball match down there. And it's a great area, Waganya, and I think it's terrific for them to get such a great project coming their way. Thanks.
Okay. So, Councillor Gaffney, do you wish to sum up?
I'm just looking at Mark Florence, and I know that he would feel really good about this, that his rec officer, just the consultation he had with the community, and a lot of communities, all they want is to be listened to and to be kept in touch, and the community down there and the Rec Reserve Committee always spoke about how they were getting along, and they felt confident that they'd get this, but they certainly wasn't expecting a grant as large. So I know that Mark had a lot to do with it. And I think it was Sven, was it Mark? Yeah. Did a great job, and he's to be congratulated, and the Waganya community are very grateful, and they deserve it. Is Peter Croucher still playing tennis?
Not sure.
The Masters division.
No, I'm into bowls now, into the bowls.
If I was you, I'd slow down a bit, Pete. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. So I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously, and a huge congratulations to the Waganya community who worked just so hard and advocated so well for this, and it's a big win, and we're really thrilled for them. 12.3 is the Beechworth Courthouse Kelly Trials Experience. The recommendation is that Council awards the contract 2021000601 Beechworth Historic Precinct Courthouse Kelly Trials curate, design, construct and install to Arterial Design for the lump sum tendered of $680,000 excluding GST, authorises the CEO to sign the contract and affix the common seal, and authorises the CEO financial delegation to approve variations of up to a total of 10% of the signed contract value. Do I have someone to move it? I've got a Councillor Goldsworthy and I've got a Councillor Shepherd to second. Over to you, Councillor Goldsworthy.
This was an interesting tender. To read the documents, you had 17 applicants. I don't think we've ever seen that many before, and all of them to be within $40,000. It was really in what the offering was and the experience that they had, and certainly the approved contractor for this, provided it all goes through. It's a very exciting project, and they've certainly done some amazing work in the past. So it's super keen to see this happen. We've been speaking about it for a number of years now. It's a multi-million-dollar project. We're looking to increase tourism as part of a larger offering all through the northeast, and it will certainly attract tourists to Beechworth and the entirety of the Indigo Shire to tell not only the courthouse Kelly trials, but some of the other things that went on in that courthouse. So it's a terrific milestone to be able to award this contract.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Councillor. And Councillor Shepherd, do you wish to speak as seconder?
Only to say that I agree. It's an exciting project. It's been in the pipeline. It's 50% us, 50% RDV. We probably think the courthouse is fantastic as it is, and it is. We've had some great functions and events, and it's a great tourist place. But you can imagine what it's going to be like once we have multimedia telling the 40 stories of the trials that have happened there. So. Yeah, it's been quietly on the back burner, but now it's happening, and can I say it's probably going to be a game changer?
Nice one, Councillor. That would be the game changer tourism strategy that you're referring to. Okay. Any other councillors wish to speak to this? Councillor Gaffney.
I remember being briefed on this as part of the Ned Kelly Alive project, and Ned Kelly was so important to Beechworth and the courthouse and the jail and his family. But I was recently shown an article in Tourism Northeast newsletter, which a manager from Indigo Shire was quoted as saying, "This project is to refocus away from Ned Kelly." And I thought that's what it was all about, called the Ned Kelly Alive. And the project will delve into the workings of the legal system. This is the same legal system as in Melbourne and every other country town in Victoria that's got a courthouse, and I think most do. So why you would concentrate on the legal system with Ned Kelly Alive, I'm not so sure. In the actual report, it says that that the project will tell the story of modern community links to the building. I'll ask that question again, but I'm not sure how that's telling the story of Ned Kelly when you're talking about modern community links. The Chiltern Courthouse is almost identical to the Beechworth Courthouse. almost identical. But whereas the Beechworth Courthouse has been properly maintained and cleaned, and it's in pristine condition, the Chiltern Courthouse certainly needs a good clean. The difference between the Chiltern Courthouse and the Beechworth Courthouse is Ned Kelly. So why you would want to refocus away from him, I don't know.
Is that just, Councillor, is that a question? Do you want that question? You said it was a question. So are you looking for an answer?
No, it's a statement. My question is, how will this project tell the story of modern community links to the building? That's my question.
Yeah. Who would you like to answer that, Councillor?
Well, Mark Bryant has got his hand up. That'll do.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Councillor. So an important part of the courthouse has been in relatively recent times. So when the courthouse actually finished as a working courthouse, large numbers of the Beechworth community rallied to ensure that the courthouse could still be a significant part of the historic precinct. So out of that, I understand, was born reenactment groups and volunteer tour guides and lots of community contributions to it. So I think it is important as one part of this project to recognise that when the legal system, the state legal system, finished its work in Beechworth, that the community rallied to ensure that the courthouse wasn't lost in its significance to the contribution that it makes to the overall story of Beechworth. So that's what that part of it is about.
Thank you. Have you finished, Councillor Gaffney?
No. Yeah? I see where Mark Lawrence is talking about, but the same could be said for the telegraph station and the other buildings there that were all state government ones that were handed to the Shire. I just wonder why this particular project, the Ned Kelly Alive project, is refocusing away from Ned Kelly. Because, as I said, there are all these old courthouses in almost every town in Victoria, and the legal system has been no different in Beechworth as it has been there, and in Melbourne and in Sydney. So to refocus on those people and the magistrate and people who worked in the Beechworth courthouse, I can't see why you would go away from Ned Kelly when that's the main reason that the Beechworth courthouse is what it is today. Anyway, that's all I've got to say, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to make a contribution? Speak to the. I'm coming back to you, Councillor Goldsworthy.
It was more a question of clarity for the director. Could he respond to those concerns that Councillor Gaffney has? Is it being refocused away from the Ned Kelly story, or will it tell the Ned Kelly story and associated people for the trials?
Yeah, so I don't agree with the characterisation presented. The report for the council meeting clearly talks about the 40 trials of the Kelly family, including Ned himself at his committal hearings. So the Ned Kelly story, or the Kelly family story, will be a significant part of this project. But as to will be other players within that whole story as well, and the function of Beechworth as a courthouse at that period of time being one of the major middle ground between Melbourne and Sydney. And it was at Beechworth where the initial administration of justice took place for the region. So Kelly story, Ned Kelly, certainly won't be lost as part of this project.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Golds, if you got a question, Councillor Gaffney, because you've spoken to the motion.
I was just going to ask the CEO, who's a member of the board of Tourism Northeast, if he could get a copy of that Tourism Northeast newsletter, which I just quoted from exactly. So that's exactly what it says, to refocus away from Ned Kelly, not towards.
Okay, so
I just have a further clarifying question.
Just hang on a sec. In response to Councillor Gaffney's request, you will get that article for us, Councillor, CEO. Thank you. Yes.
Check it down. Yep.
Another question from you, Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yeah, just to Director Florence, in telling the importance of, or including some of the importance of the courthouse, will that go some way, do you think, to showing justification for listing of the that area, the historic precinct area, for national significance and on the Heritage Register more broadly?
I think it'll be a significant contribution to that application, Councillor. The application for national heritage listing is dependent on a whole package being presented, and to have a virtually intact justice precinct in place in Beechworth, and being one or if not the only intact justice precinct in Australia. So the courthouse is critical to that, not just the bad guys that went through it, but also the administration of the justice precinct.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Horn, I saw your hand up.
Yes. I have a query about point 3, the 10% delegation of the CEO has in this matter, and one other earlier. Can you tell me, please, is that reliant on the project still being in budget? Or if it goes over budget, would he need to come back to council?
CEO?
So I saw Ian's going to go at that one too. So the 10% was we're including in all of our tender documentation. So that's to say, you know, if from time to time there's variations that come up, and if we had an absolute hard and fast number, it would mean we'd have to come back to a council meeting to approve a variation of $2. So obviously we don't want to do that. So for point of expediency, this is something we add to all the projects, and obviously within that delegation, we will still manage every project as we would. That there's a certain threshold by which we would manage within that, and then above that threshold, we come back to council if we're going to overrun the project and we're going to go over budget. We'll come back to you for permission to do that if we need to do that. This project has a couple of components, so if there was a small overrun of this component, you know, it's possible then to underrun other components of the same project. So this total project is not represented just by this tender alone.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion, or I'll return to the mover, to Councillor Goldsworthy, to sum up.
Yes, so this is and it remains an exciting project. I think those that will be undertaking the project will do a terrific job. It is one part of it. There is more to come, but it has the possibility or the feasibility that we believe will bring another 30,000 people to the area. That can only be a good thing, particularly given the hit that our tourism industry has had over the last year. So the quicker we can get this up and going, hopefully the quicker we can see more people coming up through the area.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4. Against? Okay, so those in favour are Councillor Shepherd, Councillor Goldsworthy, Councillor Croucher, Councillor O'Connor. Those against are Councillor Gaffney and Councillor Horn. Got that, Jane? Thank you. 12.4 is the proposed program for local roads and community infrastructure. The recommendation is that Council endorses the programs as listed below for inclusion in the Capital Works program under the second round of the Local Roads and Community Infrastructure program, and allocates the 1.151382 grant amounts as follows. There's 1, 2, 3,
I'm going to move that.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of them. I won't read them all because there are 12 of them, but moved by Councillor Goldsworthy. Do I have a seconder? I have Councillor Shepherd. Okay. Over to you, Councillor Goldsworthy. You're on mute.
this is the second tranche of and over $1 million of funding that's been provided to the Indigo Shire for infrastructure projects. And we worked really well last time looking at footpaths and predominantly footpaths, and they're rolling out quite successfully right across the Shire. This is again primarily focused on our roads and footpaths. It will have an immediate boost to the local economy and certainly to the lifestyle improvements for those many recipients that'll be getting this. It's primarily focused on the needs that have been identified in our plans. So our priority listing for footpaths and for roads, and is great. Yeah, it's important for our communities to get these projects underway. It'll also be helpful because some of these were forecast in future years. So it's funding that we don't have to spend in the future.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shepherd is seconded. Do you wish to speak?
I'll reserve my right, thanks.
Okay. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Gaffney.
I just think that these federal grants that are given to the Shire and the Shire can spend them on whichever items they want, as long as they're local roads and community infrastructure. I just think that they're a bit unbalanced, not equal, and unfair. I thought in round 2 that it might have been different to round 1. In round 1, the biggest town in Indigo Shire, Beechworth, got $480,000 of that available $1.06 million. And Rutherglen got the second biggest town in Indigo Shire, quite easily got $90,000. So I thought things might change in round 2, but no. Here we have round 2. Beechworth gets $385,000 and Rutherglen gets $155,000. The biggest project in this round is Alma Road in Beechworth, which gets a total out of 1.1 million. It gets 362,000, which is over 1/3. So it's Alma Road off-road cycling track to mountain bike park in Beechworth, and the urban and rural road sealing of Alma Road, Beechworth. So last week I went up to Alma Road to have a look at the need of these works because, as the mover said, they're priority projects. What I noticed was that the time that I spent there, as I said, over a couple of days, was I didn't see one car on that road. I saw four children on bikes. They were riding on the road, which was right next to the rail trail. I'm told that they don't like riding on the rail trail. They'd rather ride on the road, which they did. The unsealed section of Alma Road, I would say, is the most pristine unsealed section of road that I've ever seen in Indigo Shire. You compare that to Woolshed Road that's got much higher volume of traffic. They've got trucks and caravans. It's used as a thoroughfare. It needs a lot of maintenance, and there's certainly safety issues. I'm told that those 4 issues are the priority for sealing roads. My view is that Alma Road doesn't meet any of those whatsoever. As I said, I never saw one car. It's basically a road to nowhere, except to the mountain bike park. As I mentioned previously during the Q2 finance report, the amount of money that's been spent on cycling in Indigo Shire is just never ending. And whether it's for offsets, it doesn't matter where it is. It's money that is being spent. So I can't vote for this. where the extra money should go. As I said, I think it's 385,000. I just think it's unfair, unbalanced, and to say that it's done on a needs basis, I've heard that so many times before. And during the 2020-21 budget, I think I read where Rutherglen out of that budget got a very, very small amount of money. I think it was $47,000 or something in a huge budget. So I just think it's unbalanced, unfair. I'd like to see it all redone and revamped, and the projects that are a priority should be the ones that we're addressing.
Okay, thanks. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Croucher.
Thank you very much. Look, I tend to agree with Councillor Gaffney as far as that is concerned, but on the other hand, there are other projects that are in there that I've been virtually fighting for, particularly with the Kiwa Cricket Pavilion in Kiwa and such. So my dilemma in a way is that I do agree with him to a certain degree with it, but I will have to support this motion because I'm this particular part and other parts of it have been worthy of this particular money. So I don't know whether we can take some out or not, but at this stage, I would have to go with it.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Horn?
I support Councillor Gaffney's comments. I think that the money could be much better used, and I do agree that there seems to be a great imbalance between bikeway pathways and ordinary pathways for our people who actually live and work in our communities.
Okay, thanks. Okay, sorry, Roberta, I can't see your face. So is that the end of your comment? Yep. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back to the mover. Sorry, Councillor Shepherd, you reserved your right. Sorry.
Yes.
Could I ask a question before Councillor Shepherd?
Yeah, you can always ask a question.
This is to the Director of Infrastructure. On Woolshed Road, when they were saying how badly they needed the road to be sealed, the council put a traffic count tapes down. Has it ever been done at Alma Road?
Director Elliott.
Thanks, Councillor, for your question. Look, I'm sure it has. I've got a figure here of 119 vehicles a day in Alma Road. I'm not sure when or where that was taken. But yeah, look, we do have traffic counters down, and that's not a number that'd be made up. So
the CEO, could you take that question on notice? That may have been when there's been a cycling event. I've spoken to people who live on that road, and there's certainly not a great number. And I said, is this normal use? And they said, yeah, of course. So there's bike riders. Are they regarded as vehicles?
no.
No. So I'd just like to know when they were taken and how they would compare to Woolshed Road in Beechworth.
Okay, so CEO, you can take that on notice. Thank you. And now I'm going to go back to Councillor Shepherd, who reserved her right as a seconder.
One of the things that I've been concerned about on council is to ensure that we have good process when we're doing things like this. And it's not an arbitrary, subjective viewpoint of anyone, really, that we decides who and what should be fixed or not. And so I think we're developing that. We have a list, we have a priority list. They are based on a set of criteria. I often ask about that criteria. I often ask about things on that priority list. I feel comfortable with the fact that our infrastructure department has decided that this is the best list of high priority infrastructure, roads and pathways that can be completed within the time frame that has to be done, and also that follows the criteria for this particular grant. I was also interested in the Alma Road issue, and so I did speak to the director, Ian Allett, about Elmer Road and asked him to explain why that was there as a high priority, because I thought there would be something come up for discussion. I'd be interested in hearing his reply as to why he thought it was an important and high priority.
Okay, Director Ellett, would you answer that query from Councillor Shepherd?
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, look, I'll give it a go. We talked a moment ago just about traffic count, so that's one of the criteria. So we've got a number of criteria that we use to assess, the merits of gravel roads and, whether they're priority for sealing. So things such as the pure number of vehicles is one factor, but also the types of vehicles. So a road that has a lot of heavy vehicles or buses versus something that's just local traffic. So the type of traffic comes into it. Some roads are more maintenance hungry than other roads, and so that's a factor that we try and take into account. The strategic role of one road over another. Again, a road that just serves local property access versus one that plays a more important link function or to community facilities. So that's another factor. And then just broader community, and that can be a range of things such as safety or other elements. So there's a few criteria that are scored on a fairly simple scale, and they're weighted to just come up with a benefit score. And we sort our road priorities in that order. So Elmer Road, it's not the highest traffic, but being sort of on the urban fringe and serving the mountain bike park, serving the properties down Kibble Lane does take a degree of traffic, and we'll take that question on notice as to when that count was done. But yeah, look, the other factors have put it, and I think particularly with the mountain bike park, the cyclists go out there, it's certainly one that we get a number of inquiries about and issues raised by the community. So I'm quite comfortable that it does sort of sit at the top of that list.
Okay. Councillor Shepherd, you've had the question answered. Do you wish to sum up from or do you wish to speak to the motion? Sorry.
It's not for me to sum up, but I'm also concerned about subjective viewpoints about which road should be done or shouldn't be done. We've all got roads that, and we've all got people who speak to us about their road that they'd like to have done, and that's why we need a criteria and we need a process that we can all feel comfortable with when we make these decisions. Otherwise, it's just an arbitrary, I want the person who votes for me up the road to get their particular road done. So I understand the feeling of we need to share the cost or the grants across the Shire, but I do think it needs to be good process.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. I'm going back to the mover, Councillor Goldsworthy, to sum up.
Just to address some of the concerns that were raised. That road, Elmer Road, was probably upgraded, the dirt section, within the last 6 months. It used to be a corrugated nightmare across there. I spoke to Barry Morey just yesterday at Sorenberg Wines. He states that he gets significant dust across on his grapes, so that impacts on his ability to, from the road, his ability to distribute herbicides, pesticides on there, and also his coverings for to prevent birds getting into his crop. They're very dusty. I spoke to Paddy from the organics farm there. He stated that they are looking to put their crops closer to the road. They're building a niche industry there and already employ at least 3 people in there apart from themselves. You've also got an olive grove down the end. That road does have a significant traffic on there. There's mountain bike education and training that goes on 3 times a week out there. It's a significant attractor to the local area, particularly during winter. It's the only winter mountain bike track in this area that's good to ride. So you'll see quite often that car park will be full with mountain bike riders. The bit that has got bitumen on it that was just done in isolation is probably about 100 metres. That's because that's a particularly dangerous area. So it is well worth funding. It is required. If you have a look on our priority road sealing list, there's 4 roads that score 8 or above out of about 130 roads. Alma Road is on the top of that list. The next one's Fighting Gully Road, then Twist Creek, Yakandana, and Cornish Town Road in Rutherglen. They are our priorities. That's what we need to go off, something that's objective, not subjective. This shouldn't be political. The statement made by Councillor earlier that Beach Earth received in round one over $400,000, that's just blatantly incorrect. There was the roundabout for $15,000 on the footpath, and the High Street footpath is 122,000 or thereabouts. There was $300,000 allocated to Yakandanda, but that's for the footpath and rail trail through Yakandanda. So once again, we're listing our priorities around footpaths and roads, and that's what we're doing, and we're doing them to our priorities, not on political whims.
Okay. All right.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. I'm not sure where he's getting political wins. Is he just being abusive? Because I specifically stated the 300,000 was for the Beechworth to Yakandanda Rail Trail. I'm not misleading here.
Well, what's his point of order? What section?
I'm not sure what your point of order is, Councillor. But what section? What under what local law?
I'm not sure of the number of the section, but it's where a councillor says something that's blatantly not correct.
Okay. So what are you saying? He said. Okay,
wait. Conversation
it's about a point of order, Councillor Goldsworthy. It's about a point of order. I'm required.
I couldn't hear you, Madam Mayor. He was talking over you, but
I'm required to make a ruling on a point of order. I need to be clear with you about what the point of order is.
He was saying that what I said was misleading, and it certainly wasn't. I said the 300,000 for the Beechworth to Yakandanda Rail Trail, and it was. Is he saying that it's not that? And saying, oh, well, it's a Beechworth to Yakandanda Road. Oh, but it's down in the Yakandanda end. It's just.
Okay. So what was your point of order? That it was untrue. His statement is untrue.
Yeah.
So
what he was making out that what I said wasn't correct, and it is correct.
Okay.
The figures are there for anybody to see.
Just let me deal with the point of order firstly. I'm going to go to Jane, our governance advisor. If a councillor says something that another councillor said is incorrect, isn't incorrect, is that a point of order? How do I deal with that?
It is, Madam Chair, under 68A.8.
Yep.
A statement that
I'm just trying to find the right. Yes. So, do I ask the councillor to withdraw the comment? Is that the correct?
Well, it's up to you to rule on the point of order, whether it's.
So I have to be honest with you. I don't know whether those figures are correct or incorrect. So I can't actually rule on it in terms of the legitimacy of the figures. And the only way I could do that is if I get you both to prove where you got your figures from. And I'm not prepared to do that in this meeting right now. So I'm going to say that I would like to move on. Councillor Gaffney, you've made your point. Councillor Goldsworthy, you've made your point. You two completely disagree on that. That's okay. But I'm not going to spend the next 20 minutes working out which of you had the correct figures. Let's suffice to say that it's very obvious what your positions are on this, and that's really what we're voting on. So unless you want to pursue it further, Councillor Gaffney, I think you've made your point. Are you okay with that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, so I am actually now going to put the motion. So all those in favour of, sorry, I've lost it now. It's going to the other page. Sorry, just let me get back to it. It is 12 point, I'm trying to go through so many different things here. 12.4, let me get with it. Okay, all those in favour of putting the proposed program as outlined in this, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. All those against? Councillor Gaffney, Councillor Horn. So all those in favour are for you, Jane, Councillor Shepherd, Councillor Goldsworthy, Councillor Croucher, Councillor O'Connor, and against Councillor Gaffney, Councillor Horn. All right, thank you, councillors. So 12.5, road deviation, Marcus Road, Yakandanda. Recommendation is that council seeks consent of the minister administering the Land Act 1958 so that council can exercise its powers under the Local Government Act, the power to deviate roads, gives public notice of the proposed road deviation and land exchange at Marcus Creek Road, Yakandanda in the local papers, sets a date not less than 28 days after the publication of notice of the road deviation for council, or should council so determine, a committee of council to consider any written submission. And in the event no written submissions are received, council authorises officers to proceed with the execution of the road deviation at Marcus Creek Road, Yakandanda, including gazettal and land exchange. Do I have someone to move that very wordy motion? Councillor Shepherd, thank you. And I got a seconder there from Councillor Croucher. Councillor Shepherd.
I think this shed's been built on that road reserve for decades. It's been there for decades, and I think this application started sometime in the 80s or something. And our requirement is to put it out for 28 days, and the requirement of the landholder is to do the road deviation. So it sounds like this is just fixing up someone who's built a long time ago on a road reserve. And the next motion is the same. I don't know how people end up building on road reserves, but it's a good opportunity to clean that up.
Yep, thanks, Councillor. Councillor Croucher?
I'd just like to endorse what Councillor Shepherd said. Thank you.
All right, great. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hands. It's unanimous. 12.5, road deviation for reserve off Kiwa East Road, Tangambalanga. So the recommendation is that council agrees to seek consent of the Minister administering the Land Act so that council can exercise its powers under the Local Government Act, the power to deviate roads, that public notice of the proposed road deviation and land exchange at 479 Kiwa East Road, Tangambalanga is given in the local papers, that a date be set not less than 28 days of the publication of the notice of the road deviation for council, or should council so determine, a committee of council to consider any written submission. That in the event that no written submission are received, council authorises officers to proceed with the execution of the road deviation at the said address, including gazettal and land exchange, and before starting any work to give effect to a deviation, publish a notice in the Government Gazette describing the deviation. Are you moving this, Councillor Croucher?
I am.
Thank goodness, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd.
Look,
Councillor Croucher?
just all I want to say is that, look, the process has gone through. Both parties were very happy with it, and the realigning of the road reserve, look, it gets better use of the land, and it's good for both parties, and well done.
Great. Councillor Shepherd?
I just want to discourage people from building on road reserves, please. Stay within your title and get your title checked before you build on it. That's all.
Very good advice. And then I won't have to read out these very long motions. Okay. Do any other councillors wish to speak to this? Oh, okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so that's it for infrastructure, and big thanks to Director Ian Ellett and his team. There's a lot of work going on, obviously, and yes, of course, we have our debates about it, but nevertheless, I think councillors would all agree that there's a huge amount of work going on across the Shire, and that's always a good thing to see. So item 13.1 is the draft community engagement policy. The recommendation is that council endorse the draft community engagement policy 2021 and places it on public exhibition and invites public feedback until the 1st of February 2021. CEO.
Sorry, I think we've made a mistake there, Madam Mayor. It's done all that. So this is final endorsement. So I'm sorry we've made a mistake, and we're asking for final sign off on a policy.
Sorry, yeah, of course. So you're not wanting a draft. You take out the word draft. I apologise. I think that's been left in there by accident. So yeah. The council endorses the community engagement policy.
No, just it adopts it.
And adopts it. Yes.
Just adopts it. Council adopts the policy.
Thank you. I don't know how that got in there, but anyway,
sorry.
It's all right. Just to be clear, we're actually adopting this policy, and it is a requirement of the Local Government Act, and it has to be adopted within the correct time frame. So this is not a draft, and it's already been out for public consultation. So the motion is that, or the recommendation is that council endorses the Community Engagement Policy 2021. Do I have someone, endorses and adopts. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Horn, and the seconder, Councillor Croucher. Councillor Horn.
I see this as the beginning of a very exciting change in the narrative of how we engage our communities. I think it's an excellent move and I commend it.
Great, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Croucher.
Yes, I actually had a good look at the engagement policy because, like Councillor Horn, I'm very interested in that sort of thing. And the thing that I really recommended, it said, we will do this. It was we will. I love those two words, we will do these sort of things. And there was a lot of really great things that came out of this policy, and I hope we will do these things in the future.
Okay, all right. So anyone else wish to speak to this? All right, Councillor Horn, do you want to make any final comments, or are you happy with your comments? All right, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? And we've got 6 hands. Thank you, councillors. The policy is adopted. 13.2. Oh, CEO?
Sorry, Madam Mayor. I just want to make a note that the right recommendation was in the agenda papers on the website, that you and I are using a running. We're using a running sheet that there was a technical glitch and it had an old recommendation, but the right recommendation was in the reports on the website the whole time.
I looked at the report, it's the correct one. So I was reading off my run sheet. My apologies. Don't know how that happened, but nevertheless, we got it right in the end. Council Code of Conduct. So the recommendation is that Council adopts the Council Code of Conduct 2021. Do I have someone to move it? Councillor Gaffney. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Goldsworthy. Okay, Councillor Gaffney. Councillor. Sorry.
I think it's very important that we adopt it, but it's more important that we abide by it.
Indeed, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Words of wisdom there, Councillor. Councillor Goldsworthy.
I look forward to seeing all councillors live by it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Okay, I'm going to put the motion that we...
Madam Mayor.
Yes?
Sum up.
Oh, of course, if you wish to.
Yeah. And Councillor Shepherd had her hand up. Did you wish to? Oh, it was just to mention that. I think too that if a councillor either intentionally or not intentionally breaks the code, that I think it's important that they apologise. And some councillors, and I'm not naming any names, over a number of terms, never apologise. But if I certainly breached the code accidentally or intentionally, yeah, I'd certainly apologise. There's no harm in that.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. So I'm going to put the motion that Council adopts the Council Code of Conduct. All those in favour? And that's 6 hands. Thank you. 13.3 is the appointment of an acting CEO. The recommendation is that Council appoints the Director of Infrastructure, Ian Ellett, as acting CEO for the period of the 22nd of March. I just have to make it clear. Sorry, it does say 23rd in the papers, but that was a misprint. It was the 22nd to the 9th of April, inclusive, and that Mr. Ellett be authorised to exercise all powers and authorities proposed in the position of Chief Executive Officer for the period of appointment as acting Chief Executive Officer, and should the Chief Executive Officer be unable to undertake the leave within this period, he will automatically resume all delegations and powers, but we sincerely hope that doesn't happen, CEO. So do I have someone to move that motion? Councillor Shepherd, do I have a seconder? Councillor Croucher. Councillor Shepherd, do you wish to speak to the motion?
When the CEO is on leave, we need a director to step up and be the acting CEO. So this is happening.
Okay, good. Councillor Cratcher.
And just from my recollections in the past, Ian Ellett has done a terrific job. So I congratulate him on getting that acting chief executive officer's position.
I'm going to put the mic. Does anyone else speak to this? Councillor Gaffney.
I'd just like to concur with Councillor Cratcher in regard to
Lovely.
Director Allen.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? All those in favour. I think we're getting a bit tired. Crazy. Okay, thank you. And I will point out that this is so that our CEO, Trevor Areno, can take a break, and we genuinely feel that he needs to do this. He deserves to do this. It's been a huge workload over the last 12 months or more with the fires and COVID and border closures and everything else. So it's really important that we all look after ourselves, and it's really good to see that CEO Areno is going to take some time, which he really deserves. 13.4, amendments to the terms of reference for Finance Committee, Indigo Community Access Committee and Indigo. Recommendation is that Council notes the changes to the number of council representatives on the following advisory committees: Finance Committee, Indigo Community Access Committee and Indigo, and adopts the attached amended Schedule A to the terms of reference for each committee. Do I have someone to move this? Yep, Councillor Shepherd. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Horn. Yep, Councillor Shepherd.
So the terms of reference need to reflect the decisions we made around how many councillors would be on each committee. And the Finance Committee has changed. We've decided that all of us need to be involved in the Finance Committee and know what's going on with finance. So that's the 7 councillors. The Indigo Access Committee has had 2 councillors on there, but the terms of reference didn't have that. So that's changing to support that. And the Indigo, which is a new committee, had 2 councillor representatives, but it's gone to 3 and 1 sub. So that just covers the councillors on those committees.
Thank you. 13.5. Oh, sorry, all those in favour. I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour. Gosh, sorry. Carried unanimously. Thank you. 13.5, informal meeting of councillors' records, and the recommendation is that council accepts the attached informal meetings of councillors' records, which was previously known as the Assembly of Councillors. Do I have someone to move this? Councillor Shepherd. Thank you, Councillor. Seconder. Councillor Croucher. Councillor Shepherd. Nothing to say. Councillor Croucher? Nothing to say. Okay. Sorry, Councillor Croucher?
Just pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to put the motion then. Anyone wish to speak to it before I do that? Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Thanks, councillors. Okay, 13.6 of the Advisory Committee minutes. The recommendation is that Council receives the attached unconfirmed Advisory Committee minutes and endorses the officer comments. Do I have someone to move that? I've got Councillor Horn and seconded by Councillor Goldsworthy. Councillor Horn?
It's really just housework, so it's very straightforward.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yeah, these are recommendations out of the council committees. Yeah, I believe we should adopt them.
Anyone else wish to speak to this? Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Thanks, councillors. And the council action plan, that recommendation is that council notes the second quarter 2021 council plan progress report. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Goldsworthy, seconder. Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Goldsworthy. do you wish to speak to it?
Yeah, look, the action plan, it comes out of the council plan. As you can see, as you go through it, a significant amount are either on track or completed. There's a couple that are on hold. The staff work diligently towards trying to achieve these results. We're about to commence the planning phase for our new council plan. This is what is left over from the last council. We've got one more reporting on this, but there's been a significant amount of work over the last 4 years to achieve this plan, and we're about to see it done and dusted and building one with the community's help.
Okay, Councillor Shepherd, do you wish to second?
Yeah, just that the one thing that we're behind schedule on with the town and Shire entry signs, I've heard that we are putting up one for Beechworth on the Hume Highway. So there's something happening in that space which might turn it to on track, hopefully.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Sorry, looking to see any hands. No, I'm going to put the motion then. All those in favour? Carried. Thanks, councillors. So we're up to item 14, notices of motion. There are no notices of motion for this meeting. Item 15 is the councillors' reports. Included in that is the diary for myself for December and January. Are there any, it's there for everyone to see. If there's any queries, feel free to, email me and ask me anything about it. Any questions from the councillors? Thanks, councillors. Decisions register, item 16. So the decisions register is there for information. Basically, it's a list of decisions council has made so people can keep an eye on us. And so we move now to general business. Again, are there any general business from councillors for this meeting? Okay. And the final item is confidential, and there are no confidential items in this meeting. So I'm actually going to call this meeting to a close at 8:56. Councillors, thank you for your input. The next meeting is on Tuesday, the 30th of March at 6:30. We are very much hoping that we will have this meeting in person in the chamber, and it will be, of course, live streamed, but let's hope that we are actually able to reach some fewer restrictions than what we're currently dealing with. I'd like to thank the staff for their input and enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to call the meeting to a close.